Tank is still alive, just wreaking all sorts of havoc. Oh my god. Canata actually had a shitload more vultures, so Nada's in a little bit of trouble here. He has to macro up and hold that natural. Okay, Canata falling back, and that was a bad idea. If he was going to do any damage, he had to do it right there. Nada's got 2 more tanks up, and that pretty much shuts down any possibility for Canata to do damage right now. Canata's still playing really aggressive. He's going up to 6 factories. I still don't think he has his gas. I think he just might have started to drop starport just now and no third base. So looks like he really just wants to go for the kill or something.
Yeah, Canata just completely massing vultures. I don't think he's produced a single tank yet, and I presume he hasn't gotten any tank upgrades. So yeah, I mean, look at that, he's still producing. Oh, Canata.
Like 1 or 2.
Maybe he does.
That's it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so, but he still hasn't put down any starports, neither player going for their third, so both players actually, you know, even though Canata's playing a little bit aggressive, I think both players are playing really safe here, you know, not taking really any big risks here, and all these mines, at the very least, are going to spot out Nada's forces. You know, wow, that was a nice siege there. He has no idea that those mines are there. Oh, he sees one mine, and I guess he'd have to know that they're there now, but he pretty much can advance now. But because Canata has those tanks, Canata really can't do any damage. So I'm guessing that Canata's going to send an SCV out and build a third base. And I'm guessing Nada had a scan there, so he's able to clear out a lot of those mines. Yeah, I didn't see the scan, but he started killing them. And now Nada on the offensive, because he's got so many more tanks. Canata actually has 3 tanks, but he doesn't have siege. Now Canata moving up to the high ground. I'm not sure if Nada's going to be able to advance past that, simply because Nada doesn't have a barracks or anything to spot for that. Nada actually looks like he's going around the side, but Nada, once again, you know, neither player having a real overwhelming force where they can just push over their opponent, but both of them still playing really safe, where they just continue macroing up, not advancing tech or taking a third base. So I think really it'll be up to whichever player either gets a deciding victory in a battle or just goes for a risk and tries to take a base or put down a starport really quick.
I'm just really shocked that neither of them have even tried to take a third base yet. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a TBT being this macro-oriented. I mean, they really are going for broke, just trying to kind of gain map control and try and kill the other guy's army. Although I think at this point, Canata is definitely going to want to expand now because he's got Nada sort of contained. He's got the high ground here, so Nada's not going to be able to get map control here. I mean, he has to fight against siege tanks into tiny chokes. There's just no way that he's going to break through any of this. So Nada's going to have to sit in his base and wait for dropships, most likely, unless he just kind of goes for a really strong all-in-ish kind of attack and try to break him. But that's going to be really difficult just because Canata having so many speed vultures. Okay, we see now Canata is going for that third base. He's got a starport and he's actually building a wraith out of it, strangely enough. I don't know why he would want to build a wraith without cloak this late into the game. Maybe he's got another starport somewhere and he's actually going to build an army of wraiths. It's probably going to take him forever to build enough wraiths to actually even kill a tank. I've got to assume that Nada has an armory by this point.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what he's doing there. He might, you know, a wraith can be used in, I guess, a situation like this where your opponent doesn't have any Goliaths. It can be used to get a lot of information really quickly, but yeah, I can't imagine him doing any damage with it. But now that he's taking his third base, he's going to have a lot more gas to kick in. You know, he's going to have a little bit of extra resources, so he can really make investments like that wraith, although it's just, the wraith just went AFK by the starport. And so Nada really trying to fight here, and he's able to secure 1 gas expansion to the left of his base, so he's not completely trapped now, but Canata's just making a huge wall, pretty much, you know, cutting not the map in half, because he definitely has the bottom left main and the upper left main. So Canata definitely taking a large advantage, although it's not really going to come into play until a little bit later in the game. But one problem with this huge wall is just that it's just so big, and he really has to spread his forces out really thin, and Nada likes to go for dropships, and I guess that's why Canata went for these wraiths and now just pinpricking away at these tanks a little bit. But I think he's going to use those wraiths actually to try and prevent some dropship play, but there's the Goliaths already, so really negligible damage there. And Nada actually pushing some ground, making some room at the top. Nada really wants to push upwards, but he really needs to keep the bottom grounds too to keep that third gas, and the Goliath picking off the wraith, Canata kind of carelessly losing that. But yeah, so Canata taking the third base. I think Nada's taking his third base as well. So transitioning pretty smoothly into the late game with Canata slightly ahead.
You know, I keep thinking to myself, even though they both took their second gases relatively late, it looks like they're both still, okay, Nada's got his third gas, and I'm assuming Canata as well. It looks like they're both still mostly building vultures and not that many tanks. So, do you think that they would have a surplus of gas at this point? I would assume that both players would have at least a little bit of surplus. Okay, maybe not now that he started building a lot of tanks. But I just think, you know, the reason I bring it up is I would just really love to see one of them go battle cruisers. Just love battle cruisers. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed for battle cruisers. Hopefully Canata gets a fourth base and just starts pumping them out. That's kind of just what I'm hoping for.
I like battle cruisers, but only in TVZ. And yeah, then we see Nada already getting the dropships out before Canata. I mean, Canata has his starport with attachment. I think he may have at least one dropship, but Nada, I think, may already have two starports out making dropships just because he has both of those so early before we saw the first one. So it's really going to be up to Nada if he can do some real critical drops, if he can hit some real critical points, because now we're at a point where Canata pretty much has most of the map in his control. He's got a lot of spider mines down, which are, you know, spider mines and siege tanks are just impossible to push against. You know, it's really never cost effective. So Nada has less of the map, and he's really on the offensive here. You know, even though it's TVT, and even though we see both players real just spreading out, Nada's gonna have to make a move here. You know, not fairly soon, but in the near future, he's definitely gonna have to put some pressure on Canata if he wants to win this game.
He's got those 3 ships, so he's got an opportunity. But you know, the important thing is that Nada's actually managed to sneak out just enough to secure a 4th gas, which is really the most important thing. I mean, once he has 4 gases, he's pretty much even with Canata. Canata actually hasn't started his 4th gas yet, so even though Canata has map control, Nada's getting the advantage in terms of expansions, and he's up in dropships. However, this dropship attack that he's doing now has been spotted completely by Canata, so I can't imagine that it's going to do much damage other than just picking off some vultures there. Oh man, losing a lot of vultures for no reason by Canata. That was pretty clever for Nada. I don't know why is he just going to leave these units here? Maybe he's going to go ferry some more units over there and just try to overpower the 3rd base. Or maybe he's just trying to leave it there to spread Kanata's defense out some more. Canata definitely looking like he's ready for the dropship play though. Even got some tanks sieged in his base. Oh, he's got some tanks stuck in the corner over there. I'm just trying to prevent a drop. Really limited space over there. It's going to make it hard for Nada to drop on top of his tanks because there's just so little space where he's got those tanks sieged up. So that was a pretty clever move.
Yeah, I really like Nada's play. I like how, you know, I'm actually kind of surprised that he's able to take that 4th gas. I'm guessing Canata didn't really expect him to do that, but now Kanata's got 4 dropships out, and he can actually drop on this high ground. If Canata can gain control of this high ground from Nada, he can start shelling that expansion and eliminate it. And it looks like, oh, now Nada moving into some dropships, but Canata has Goliaths, and little careless there, dropping all the stuff really far away, and I think, oh yeah, Nada actually has a few more dropships, so Nada's going to be able to clear that out and keep control of that 4th base. And so Nada, although his 3rd was a little bit later, and although he lost map control, he's definitely gaining it back now. He went in, he made a real bold move to take a 4th base, and then he snuck out with, looks like 4 dropships before, and just took control of Kanata's 4th base. So in the position that Nada's in the upper left, he's controlling 2 gases right now. So he's really forcing Canata to take the mid-right gas, because that's really the only expansion he can take. And it looks like Kanata's really not willing to do that. I mean, Kanata's been sitting at 3 gases now, while Nada's at 4, and Nada's just going to get a huge gas advantage. Now you can see he's able to produce so many tanks and Goliaths and still continue production of dropships, where, you know, outside of Kanata's base, his, you know, unit count is just limited because he's focused on keeping up on the dropship count with Nada.
I'm surprised that Kanata's not actively trying to get a 4th gas. I mean, I gotta figure that it's worth at least trying to take that mid-bottom right expansion. I'm surprised that he would just sit there with a disadvantage. Okay, it looks like he's gonna try to secure this top left base right here. Definitely gonna, okay, he clears out Nada's army there easily, but Nada's still got 5 dropships running around the map. Those dropships are gonna get spotted, but it might be too late. I mean, there's a lot of units in there, and Kanata's units have to be already damaged a little bit. So he might actually go for the expansion here. We got to see what Nada decides to do.